URAC has long required training in a variety of areas for accredited companies' employees. This could include training in URAC standards that apply to a particular job, training in confidentiality requirements, conflict of interest, regulatory requirements, etc. Historically, the documentation required to demonstrate that was a policy and procedure that said that this is the requirement of training for all of the employees, outlining in some detail what that looked like, and then throwing in a few examples that some of that training has happened, not necessarily comprehensive examples. So some training outlines, some training agendas, maybe even some sign-in sheets for a staff meeting at which a few URAC standards were covered. Now, for a couple of versions of the standards, the interpretive guide has been a little more explicit than that and has said that at the desktop review level, you need to submit training program outlines and agendas for all levels of program staff, employee and senior clinical staff person. That has not historically, at least for the last several years in our experience, been rigorously enforced by URAC reviewers. We're starting to see, however, a trend in the review practices of URAC reviewers that indicates that maybe now it's time to start reading this quite literally. So what we're recommending to our clients now is that to meet the requirements of all the training standards now, you submit comprehensive outlines and agendas for all levels of program staff across all of the requirements. So if you have a conflict of interest training that applies to everybody, you can submit that agenda for that training or an outline of that training that you would give to all staff. But if you have one training for your clinical staff and the clinical standards that apply to them, and then a different training for, let's say, the IT staff and the handful of standards that apply to them, and then a different training for the human resources or personnel departments staff that apply to them, then you need to submit outlines or agendas of all of those trainings across all of the programs. While this is not a new requirement in writing, it seems to be a new requirement in the enforcement. At least the URAC reviewers seem to be more consistently enforcing that provision of the interpretive guide. A word to the wise.